So before history rolls over it, or at least before I forget all the details, I am in day 5 of my COVID experience. I guess a friend of ours said there are only 6% of the population hasn't experienced COVID yet, or isn't infected, or something like that. I don't know where they get these statistics, but I kind of like the idea of being in the 94th percentile, so I'll take it. But anyway, yeah, as you can tell, I'm a little bit stuffed up, but my nose. But I, all in all, haven't had a horrible experience with this. Now, this is just recounting what happened to me. This is not meant to be medical advice. Please don't take any course of action based on my experience. But, maybe you use it for comparison or as a talking point, or I don't know what you use it for, but I just wanted to record it for myself and share it with others in case it could help them in some way. But anyway, so yeah, I was at work on Saturday, and I had a little bit of a, scratchy throat. But here's the thing. On Thursday night, I had performed on stage and did some shouting. I was doing my very first stand-up comedy act. So I just kind of attributed my loss of voice. I have a voice that I lose, and that's kind of raspy to begin with. So I just attributed that to that, the rehearsing, coming up to it, and then the actual performance. And then, Friday I was eating a couple cough drops here and there. Saturday I was eating cough drops. And then as the day went on, I started to get a little tired, but I work a 11-hour shift on Saturdays a lot of times. So it's not unusual for me to get tired, and it was a busy day. So that wasn't like out of the realm of possibility. But towards the evening, say about 6 or 7 in the evening, I started to feel like a little bit of a headache coming on, and I usually don't get headaches. And this was like a weird headache. It wasn't like you haven't eaten anything headache, or you haven't anything, you haven't drunk enough water, dehydrated. It was kind of low on the left-hand side in my neck, like where like the artery comes up, the vein, I guess, comes down at the base of the neck. And that was unusual. That's like a tension place for me, a stress kind of thing. But this was different. It was painful. And then I started to get a little bit of aches and body aches. And towards maybe about 10 o'clock, I started actually feeling a little bit like, I don't know, kind of achy. Just wanted to go home and go rest. So I got done with my shift and got home and tested myself. We have some tests. So I tested myself with an expired test, and it came up blank. Like it just wouldn't even report. So either I did it wrong or it was expired and wasn't going to give me a result. So then I used a different test that was it was called the Acu check or something like that. Anyway, it was it's like a litmus test. It has like a test strip, and you put the strip in the vial after you've taken the swab and put it in the vial for a minute. You put the test strip in for 10 minutes, and it shows you a result. I like that one. That one seems to work pretty well for me. And the first test came up negative. So I went to sleep that night, took a shower first, was cold, had chills, body aches, drank some water, went to sleep. Forced myself to eat a piece of pizza, and then went to sleep. And then I woke up in the middle of the night, parched. Got some more water, used the facilities. Not to be crass or anything, but I don't know if you have the same experience, but whenever I'm feverish or I know that I'm ill, frequent urination can be a thing, and also the type of urination can be, it's just not the same, let's put it that way, as when it's normal, It's either a restricted flow or urgent flow, or you feel feverish while you're doing it. So yeah, I knew I was sick. In fact, when I left work that night on Friday or Saturday night, I actually said to my coworkers, "What was it like when you guys got COVID?" Because I hadn't had it yet, or as far as I know, I didn't have it. So, oh yeah, by the way, I was vaxxed and boosted, but my last booster was in October, which apparently I found out yesterday from the doctor that I went to see that that was not the bivalent dose, so I probably succumbed to a form of the Omicron variant that I wasn't protected from that last vaccination 4 to 5 months ago. So, had I known that, in retrospect, probably would have got the bivalent vaccine, but I didn't, and I wasn't aware of it. I just kind of let my guard down and haven't been following it, to tell you the truth. So, anyway, yeah, so continuing on Sunday morning, early Sunday morning, wake up, achy, get up, try to get up. Kind of, I wouldn't say dizzy like I was going to fall on the ground, but definitely aware of my sense of balance being off a little bit. So careful when I got up to go get water or use the facilities. No appetite. Sudden onset of symptoms, which is why at first I thought, since I tested negative, that it was influenza, even though I got a flu shot as well. So, yeah, basically I just laid on the couch all day, probably about 18 hours on the couch. Didn't feel good until about 8 o'clock at night. So I just kind of laid there. My lovely wife brought me food, but I didn't really eat very much. Started to get like that sort of, I wasn't nauseated, but you know how when you don't eat for a while, your stomach just starts to go, hey man, like you got to put something in here. So even though I didn't want to eat, I didn't want a sour stomach, so I did force some noodles down, like ramen noodles, and that was good. And then I was able to take an ibuprofen, which I guess I've heard is counterindicated for COVID. I don't know that for sure. You want to check with your doctor. But again, at this point, I didn't know it wasn't COVID. I was trying to reduce the fever. I have a thermometer. I was taking my temperature. It was over 100. It wasn't like crazy. I never got over to like 101 or anything like that. It was like 100.7 at the highest, I think. But that was one of those ones that you point your forehead and press the button. So generally, I think those tend to register a lower temperature, body temperature. But anyway, so yeah, so that's how it went. And then I was sort of awake for a few hours, and then it was time to go to bed again. So I did. And around 10, 11 o'clock on Sunday night, I went back to sleep. Slept pretty much straight through. Maybe got up once, if I remember correctly. On and on, fever, still body aches, chills. I didn't really have any shortness of breath. There was one point at work where I came up the steps on Saturday, and I felt like I was a little out of breath, but I don't know how much of that was the COVID or how much that's being out of shape. I mean, I'm not obese, but, I put on a couple pounds. I probably had 10 pounds more than I should have. Now I'm down probably about 5 of those. So I'm probably about 5 pounds overweight, maybe not. Anyway, that was Sunday. Sunday into Monday. Wake up Monday. I texted my friends, co-workers, and told them, I tested negative for COVID. I tested again on Sunday. It was negative as well. Same test, and with the test strip. And I texted my friend and said, I don't know what I had. It's not COVID apparently, but it knocked me out all day. And then one of my coworkers said, you should probably test again tomorrow, or in a couple of days, just in case. Turns out that one of our coworkers and 2 of our coworkers who lived together were married to each other, actually, and their whole family had COVID. I did not know that until later. But yeah, so that's a possible source. Could have had it at the comedy club or the open mic because everybody was shouting at each other. It was really loud. Could happen there. Work in a restaurant, so it could happen anytime, anywhere. But not trying to blame anything. We're just trying to track it a little bit. Impossible to do, I think. But yeah, so anyway, Monday morning test, and could not be more positive. Like, it was an absolute positive result, like a textbook case. Like, there's a blue line, there's a pink line, it was a bright pink line, so yeah, absolutely 100% positive. So then I was like, okay, now what do I do? So I don't really have a primary care physician. So I look on the back of my card, and my insurance card, and I called the 1-800 like customer assist line. They have this crazy 5-option menu, which I gotta tell you, if you're anybody that has any influence over how to write these menus online, when people are sick, at least I can speak from my own experience. When I'm sick, I can't navigate those things, right? I don't know what those arcane terms are. Like, just do things like, billing. If you're sick, press this button. You want to talk to a doctor, press this button, right? You want to schedule an appointment, press this button. Not like, I don't know, I'd have to pull up the menu, but it was not as clear as it could have been. Anyway, that's my minor gripe. So I got through to somebody finally, and they're like, I'm like, I tested positive for COVID. And they're like, oh, well, who's your doctor? And I'm like, yeah, I don't have one. Usually healthy. And they're like, okay. I said, I do have a physical appointment, for a physical next week or so. Who's that? Like, I couldn't even remember the name because they assigned me someone. So they looked up the name, and I'm like, okay, do I call this person? And they're like, oh, don't forget there's a 1-800 dial a nurse line. And I'm like, oh, okay, so I'll do that. So I did that. So I dialed the nurse, and that's free. So, and I didn't have to go anywhere. So I did that, and I said, yeah, I tested positive for COVID. What's the next step? Is there like antivirals or something? And the lady's really nice lady named Lori. She said, yeah, she's like, yeah, here's what you do. She said, Google test to treat. TEST space TO space TREAT. So I did. So while I was on the phone. So apparently there is a website that's been established. I don't know how recently, but it has a list of all of these centers. One was really close to my house in a CVS pharmacy. And what you can do is they can test you there. They can prescribe the treatment, and you can get the treatment there because there's a pharmacy there. All in one stop. So that was like, yeah, that's cool. So I went online and made I found the place. I went online, made a reservation. I had an appointment within an hour and a half of doing that. So that was pretty slick. Thank you, whoever did that. A really great job. So I'm pretty happy about that. So anyway, I get up to the pharmacy. I waited out. I get up to the pharmacy, and I had no stomach issues or anything. Somebody else was talking about stomach issues. They didn't have any, so that was good because there's nothing worse than going to the doctor when you have stomach problems. But I didn't, so I masked up. They told you to mask up, of course. Makes sense, right? And so I did that. Took my result. Well, I took a picture of my test result and the box. So I was able to do a video. I did a video of me taking the test, which I still haven't posted, which I should probably do. Might help some people because the instructions can be, when you're sick, the instructions can be hard to read and pain to read. So anyway, I go to the place, and there's I don't know if she was a doctor or a nurse practitioner, but whoever she was absolutely awesome. Asked me about, any medications I take. Do I have kidney disease, liver disease, etc. Smoke, not obese. I don't smoke. She says I wasn't overweight. That was nice to hear. I probably was pretty gaunt, but I had my jacket on and everything. I don't know how much you could tell, but I guess she's used to seeing really sick people, so when she sees somebody who's like relatively healthy, she's like, you're fine. So I asked her about the treatment, the Paxlovid, I think it's called, Paxlovid, that's what it's called. It's an antiviral. So it's apparently 2 drugs, 3 pills at a time. She said, she said, you seem to be feeling better today. I said, yeah, I was. She said, well, you were vaccinated, you're in good health, you're relatively young. You'd probably respond well because you don't have kidney disease. Kidney disease is huge for this, so you have to be careful with the kidneys. And I was like, yeah, you don't take any medication. So it would have been a good drug to use. But she said it's an emergency order drug, so just be aware that we don't know all the side effects. We know some of them. But we don't know any of the long-term side effects because the drug's only been around for, 6 months or so. Or whatever it is, don't quote me on that. So she said, so she started she wasn't persuading me, but based on what she was saying, I was convincing myself that I was not probably going to take this drug unless I started to feel worse. So she said, well, what I can do is I can write you the script, and then you can either fill it or not, depending on what you want to do. But you have to take it within the first 5 days of symptoms. And it sounds like your symptoms started on Friday. So you got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So you'd have to take it tomorrow. Or she said Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I can't remember. But either way, I was going to be within the next 2 days. I was going to have to start taking the drug, if not. She also told me something I didn't know, which was that I could get 8 test kits a month with almost any insurance would cover that for free. So that was kind of cool because she asked me if I was out of test kits, and I basically had one left that was not expired. I had a bunch of expired. I had 6 expired ones. So she's like, yeah, go pick those up. So I said, okay, great. So I went over to the pharmacy, gave him my ID, asked for the 8 test kits, and I thought I was just going to get the test kits. Well, I ended up getting 2 bags, not paying a dime. And when I got home, I just thought there were 2 different test kits. And then I got home, and I have Paxlovid in one of them. I'm like, oh, geez. So they filled the script, and, and I haven't used it. Tomorrow's day 5, I guess. So I'm not, I feel great, so I'm probably not going to use it. So I don't know what I should do, take it back or call my insurance to make sure that I'm not going to get charged. I have a feeling they're not going to charge because, COVID, they want to, the government wants to contain this. So the treatment's free, but I got to double check. Anyway, the office visit cost me a $20 deductible because it was urgent care or whatever you want to call it. And so that was Monday. Masked up, my wife's masking, when we're in the same room. I get the living room and the dining room. She gets the bedroom and the kitchen. Those are our breathe-free zones. Whenever we cross each other's paths, we put our masks on, and hopefully she won't catch it. So she's going to test tomorrow. And then on day 10, she's going to test as well. Now, my doctor, or the doctor, said, I asked her, I said, do I have to test? Should I test? And she said, no, you're going to test positive. She said, you may test positive for weeks. You might test positive for the next couple of months. She said, it's no longer an indicator of when it's time to go back to work. She said, basically, the main thing is, and this is not advice, this is just what she said to me. So, you go with whatever your doctor says or whatever the latest info is. But as of this time, she told me that day 5, if I wake up and I don't have a fever and I'm not taking any fever-reducing drugs, so no Tylenol, no ibuprofen, then I can leave the house, go back to work with a mask on for the next 5 days. And then if the symptoms do not recur if I have no symptoms, no new symptoms, no relapse, no fever, I can just remove the mask after day 10. So I can be in public like a regular, human being. So that's it. So I guess that's a long spiel, but I wanted to commit it to memory, virtual memory, before I forgot. And if anything changes, I'll give you an update. But as of right now, I feel good. I actually did go outside and take a walk. Did not encounter any other human beings or any other creatures that I could tell. Saw a squirrel pretty far away. But I didn't cross anybody's path close enough to infect them. I did take a mask. But I did walk up. The reason I bring that up is I did walk up this very steep hill, which isn't easy even at 100% physical ability. But I was able to walk up it, stopping only once to pause and look around and catch my breath. But I was not out of breath. I wasn't really winded. So that's a good indicator that my lung function is good. And the doctor did listen to my lungs and gave me a clean bill of health. Blood pressure was good. The pulse ox was good. One of the reasons I did not take the Paxlovid was not going to up until this point, is because one of the side effects is possibly a high blood pressure. So I don't want that. I don't want to mess with that. So there are some other. I should actually read the whole list of side effects, would include nausea, stomach stuff, and it sounded, and metallic taste in the mouth. It sounded worse than what I was dealing with. So, and then the only other thing was I was kind of curious. There was a VA study apparently about long COVID and whether Paxlovid has any ability to lessen the chance of long COVID. And I asked two people that I trust. One is a surgeon. The other is a former CEO of a medical supply company who is very interested in medical research, has access to academics, been following this assiduously along with other topics. Both of them said there's basically no evidence yet that Paxlovid has any effect on long COVID. There's no evidence. So, not saying it doesn't, it's just not enough evidence to be able to tell. So that was the only other reason I would have taken it, was to prevent my chances of getting long COVID. So it looks like I might survive this, and kind of happy about that. So if you have any more questions about my experience, I'll be happy to share them. Knowledge is power, and fear comes from lack of knowledge. I've that in my experience. So hopefully this helps somebody. If it did, smash like, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.